Good morning, everyone. It is Wednesday, September 8th. This is Nadex Morning Analysis, where we look at some potential hotspots in the markets for the day. I am Todd Rich with Nadex. With me from Keep Trading Simple, Brian Caprice. Before Brian and I jump into it, we do have to share this disclaimer that trading involves risk and may not be appropriate for everyone. That any trading decisions you make are solely your responsibility and at your own risk. And this is an educational session. Please do not construe anything Brian or I say as a buy or sell recommendation. We are doing this for your education purposes. So what are we looking at today? There is an economic report coming out of Canada. And in fact, there we got. We're going to be looking at the U.S. dollar, Canadian dollar. We're seeing Canadian dollar. We're seeing U.S. dollar strength. We're also seeing a bit of Canadian dollar weakness, but it is chopping around. It is in some interesting levels. But what we're really going to be looking at is at 10 o'clock this morning, the Bank of Canada is going to come out with their interest rate policy. Now, I don't believe anyone is expecting them to change their interest rates, but we will get some color commentary around what they plan on doing. That could very well drive some volatility in the US dollar, Canadian dollar Forex pair. So this is going to be a hot spot in about an hour. So we're going to definitely talk about this. Some of the things that you're going to hear about what Canada is probably thinking about on their interest rate policy also impact the US, and we're seeing that translate itself into some activity in the equities markets. So we'll do a quick little look around the Dow, the Nasdaq, and the S&P 500, maybe even a peek over at the Russell, and we'll take a look at what's going on in the equities, because for the first time in a while we're seeing some weakness across the board in US equities. So Brian, let's jump into it and talk about what we got going on with Canada in an hour.
Yeah, if you guys attended the session yesterday, we mentioned that we have a lot of these rate statements and monetary policy hearings and reports this week. And again, it's very important. Again, it's, we're going into the last quarter. Everybody's back to business now. Kids are back in school pretty much everywhere. My kids went today, made it on the bus. I'm good. It's, they've been there an hour and I haven't got a phone call from the principal. So we're rocking today. Starting off strong. I think I think they start at 8:50. So I guess they found it to their classroom and the school hasn't burned down. So we're doing good.
You get a call that they gotta take them all home because
I'm expecting an email. I'm expecting an email. But if you guys are Star Wars fans, like I'm a big Star Wars fan, in Empire Strikes Back, when the rebels are leaving Hoth, how they shoot the cannons and they get out for the first time. As a parent with two kids that have gone through COVID in the last year, I know exactly how those guys feel now. Where they're like, the first rebel transport is away. It's like, yes, my first two kids are out. The girl heads back actually tomorrow, so I'll be free. I'm like, I don't know what to do with all this free time. It's crazy. But I know how those guys feel now, where they're like, yes, one of the transports is away. So yeah, if I get the email later that we're closing down because of COVID, I'm gonna be like, no, it's gonna be rough.
It's all good.
We'll have a complete meltdown. I'll be throwing keyboards. It'll be horrible. So yeah, we're going to go back to virtual schooling. It's going to be like, no, I'll be a meme. Anyway, so Bank of Canada. So Bank of Canada was originally one of the first ones to start getting a little bit more aggressive. They had to immediately pull back again. And now kind of where we're seeing price move in the last 24 hours, the dollar CAD is up about 69. And again, in the last hour, it's retracing as profit taking is coming in. It was a bit higher than that. So the scenario is everything was kind of going in the right direction. It was good. They were tapering. They took off about 1/3 of their stimulus. Again, tapering is the big word now. Yep. And it mentions it right here. It says, since then, however, the situation in Canada has deteriorated on two fronts. Political stability. If you didn't know, Trudeau called a snap election. He wants to grab the last bit of power that he can. It's actually not working out well for him. The last kind of polling that I saw actually has him losing. So it's kind of one of those things. You didn't need to call it. You tried to get greedy and grab power. And now, again, he's going to need – they have basically a fight between three main parties up there. But the Conservatives are now winning, then Trudeau's party, and then the NDP has like 18%. So kind of interesting. His goal of getting this majority is not looking good. And again, it's causing a lot of political, instability. On top of that, they also have some rising COVID, just like everybody else is. Again, Canada hasn't really seen the Delta variant go, run wild yet, and they're starting to see that, so they kind of know what that's looking like for the next 2 months. So what it's doing is it's providing an environment right now that is really not helping the continued taper effect, which is showing some weakness. Remember, the first step is taper, second step is raise interest rates. So, here's kind of what the, implied rates are, the experts' chances of an actual rate hike of what it's looking like. There's no major numbers on here until the middle of next year, and we'll see where that goes to. I mean, like I said, those are big. Those are big things. I mean, how do we go through? Can we go through the 12, the 9, the 14, and the 20 before we get a rate hike? Maybe. I wouldn't be surprised if we get one before the end of the year, especially once kind of Delta is kind of turning there. So, interestingly enough, again, this is one of the nice things about using daily effects. They have this consumer sentiment, and they're saying about 65% of traders are net long now. And again, that's the dollar CAD showing CAD weakness, dollar strength. It's not above the area where we're concerned, right? Typically, when we say, hey, listen, when things are in that 75, 80, now it's kind of like, all right, let's grab all these people's money, right? 65, though, is actually not too far, and it's kind of one of those things that it's in the range of, this is going to be the trend for a little while. And if you look at and compare these two currencies, the U.S. is a little bit ahead of Canada. And, we're not causing major problems. Like Afghanistan doesn't change our economy. That was kind of like the first hiccup. COVID, we'll see. I mean, like I said, our 2-month time frame is down. We're seeing the states that led the charge with Delta all flip and roll back to the downside. As far as infection rates and hospitalizations, now we got to see what it looks like when the rest of the country goes back to school, if we have somewhat of a continued trend with that. So we'll see. I mean, we may be the one country that puts the asterisk on that 2 months because of, again, the school situation. And again, not because we're doing anything different, but just because of the actual timing of it all with the 2 months. So we'll see. Again, it puts the CAD in a very interesting spot. Now, if you attended yesterday, and here I'll move the green so you can kind of see it, we talked about we had a level here, and we've been looking for this Harry Potter trade. We talked about the level. We'd punched through it basically 2 times before, and then we hit it again yesterday. Yesterday morning, when we talked yesterday afternoon, we were sitting right here, and we said we hadn't gotten it. It had peeked through. Actually, it's kind of right here in the middle. I can shrink this. I don't have to make it as big, right? You guys can see that right there. Right there, that kind of bottom. That's where we were yesterday afternoon. And we said we were still looking for the same Harry Potter. Again, you guys know what it looks like. Punch through, base, pull back, and punch through. And it did that. Came through it, base, pulled back, tagged it at about 10 o'clock last night, and then boom, skyrocketed up again. We mentioned a little speed bump around 127-ish, right? And it did. It ended up hitting that right at the European Open, right at that 4 o'clock time frame, and then pulling back again because it was such strong momentum higher. Where we are now, we're seeing a lot of basing. And again, some of this may be in preparation for what we see. Again, everybody seems to expect that this is going to be more of a weakish Canadian situation. If so, if you wanted to get long, you don't want to buy it at the top. You want it to pull back. So it is kind of setting up for that right now. With it being 853, I would like to see what it does at the U.S. Open to see if there's any effect at all, because the U.S. Open will be a kind of a movement, a movement time frame, and you can see all the news that's kind of cranked in here this morning early on. Yep. And again, you can see we have jobs, we have overnight, we have Ivy, we have all kinds of stuff right at 10 o'clock. But we need to, when I say stomach, but we need to get through that initial 9:30 push this morning. Once we see what happens there, if it does
that move,
yeah,
for real.
If it does nothing, I would say that it's setting up for more of a long. And again, a lot of that move is already in, but we got about 56 pips before we get up to the 2720 area. The reversal could potentially come in for today. Remember, there's going to be that initial kind of like gut check, right? When they see the news and when they hear the statement. If it does pop higher, remember 10:30, 11 o'clock, it's the most common time for reversals. With the 10 o'clock news release, if we have an immediate punch forward and starts to slow down, that could be a good opportunity to take this for a reversal, because you can see really since late last night, but I mean, European session kicked in right here. We're up, about 70 pips already? Not quite. Actually, let me check it out. We'll get the most updated numbers on this one. Yeah, the ATR right now is 86, so we're up at an ATR already for the day, and we've only had one session, and the Canadian market's not even open. So I would say that the potential's there. If we look for a pop, look for a parabolic retracement move. If you don't know how to trade those, go search on in the archives and look for the parabolic retracement webinar. If you have questions, again, you can email me about it as well. So I think there's a lot there, but hopefully you guys were able to take advantage of that with it being right in the middle. Again, for the Fed people out there, I would say kind of watch out for, we're sitting right at that 50% right now from the surge this morning to the surge that ended a little while ago. So there's all kinds of stuff going on. There's going to be people grabbing the demand zone that is sitting right here. There's a mini demand zone sitting right there. You know, it's a prior level, right? We're seeing a 50% retracement. So there's a lot of stuff going on, all in the long direction. And again, with it pulling back, as soon as the U.S. traders coming online and the Canadian traders coming online, it is setting up more for a long. So, first come, first serve. I'd say targets at 27.20. I don't think this kind of hiccup level is going to hold the next time through. And again, if we can get up into this level, look for somewhat of a reversal back to the downside because, the dollar index right now is starting to come back down from its big push, but I expect the U.S. trader to step in and then again, we'll see that kind of the pickleball.
So right, you've got the double whammy going on there with the dollar strength playing in and how the dollar is, and then you've also got how are people going to react to the Canadian news in 1 hour. Now, playing this in the markets. I mean, what are your opportunities? Binary options, probably shorter duration binary options through the news event would be one way to do that. Is trying to catch one of these moves with the shorter duration binary options. Remember, every one of them has to go to 0 or 100. And if if it starts making a move and you have that opportunity, at least you're doing so with very clearly defined risk, very clearly defined reward, and there will be some potential opportunity there as people as the markets open, and then as people digest whatever Canada has to say, particularly around how their economy is recovering.
And again, guys, short duration contracts. I will say that this is my personal opinion. This is not supported by anybody else out there. There's my caveat for it. I do think the spreads are a little bit wide for the Canadian dollar. But again, what that means is you need, for the binaries, what you need to do is look over into the shorter duration call spreads and maybe even knockouts, depending on where the spike goes to. But again, something like this monetary policy statement could be a big move. And again, just know your products is kind of what I'm getting at there. So.
All right. So with that, knowing that there's going to be some news coming out of Canada, particularly around how their economy is performing, with concerns around Delta, definitely some concerns around Delta, which will also, in turn, not just impact equities, but it would also potentially impact interest rates. But let's just do some quick rundowns on what's going on in the U.S. equity markets, because we've been seeing a little bit of selling pressure.
Yeah, I mean, I'll run through them real fast. I think, again, the European session has been quite active this morning. This is the ES, and again, it's on here. I'll drop it to a 15 so I don't mess everybody up with the analysis. 45,000. We talked about it yesterday about potentially getting back down there and being a level of equilibrium. And again, it came down. It literally had major problems with the European session. Here's the 3 o'clock candle right here. You guys can see it. Right there is the UK Open, and we've sent the price straight up again into areas of sellers sitting up in this area right here. You can see that they've come in right here. I would say the way that it's set up right now, I mean, everything's kind of marked in the red just a little bit, but I would say, I mean, there's going to be profit taking. That's what we're seeing right now. Has anything changed? I would say that, again, watch out for this JOLTS job openings. Not that JOLTS is the biggest thing, but the market does like looking at it. It's kind of like, oh, I know what JOLTS is. Do you know what it stands for? I do know what it stands for, right? So it's kind of one of those ones that it's like, watch it.
And we are seeing these lower highs.
Yeah, you're seeing it here, and here.
Yeah.
But I would say that, look for an immediate pop. Again, this is one of those ones we need to kind of make it through the open. There's all kinds of stuff going on still, right? I mean, nothing has changed yesterday from today. Delta has not been cured. World peace is not here. It's still, I would say that the negative sentiment is still weighing on everybody. And again, you would say that, Canada doesn't affect anything. Well, I mean, the Canadian government can talk about how they see continued global pressure and inflation is kicking back again. And
it's not like right. What they see and what they're experiencing are what other countries around the globe are also. I mean, it's not like we're in isolation here. So it will be, I mean, what they're experiencing and they're talking about, others are seeing as well, including the US.
Yeah. So, and remember, they are an export nation. They're, in a great situation, but they talk about their economy is going to continue to slow in uncertainty. Again, they also buy things from the United States as well. So, again, there is some overlap there, but I would say the ES is in a position that, again, if we start stalling, it's going to drop, right? And again, right now, they're basically all flat right now. NQ, kind of the same thing. It came down to that level that we had talked about of buyers. Pushed pretty deep. I mean, it went it pushed all the way down into this level right here. So there's really not many buyers left. If this starts to roll, it looks very, very similar. And again, we play both directions of a trade. If for some reason we do get really positive feelings at the open today and we punch through, again, 15, 7, 10 up top is that little Harry Potter we're looking for to kind of punch higher. That's there. YM, we talked about that 50% retracement level yesterday, happened to be at an area of interest at 35,200. I missed it by 6 points. Yay. 6 points. And then again, it came and punched all the way through. And again, what did it do? It flirted with 35,000, kind of base, came back up again, and now we're sitting at 35,068. So, kind of one of those things that, again, the big area of interest. We had, this one tag and hit 4,500. The NQ came down and was flirting with, some of the levels lower. YM hit the 35,000 again, and even the Russell came down, and we talked about yesterday that 22,661 was our target. You're going to see it came down to tag the target, formed a new base, and then punched higher again, and is now struggling for that same level again. So, I know not everybody trades everything, but again, looking in the past, I don't have a crystal ball, but when you look where buyers and sellers are, there's only one reason why price stops here and why price stopped here. And again, it did it yet again and gave us a nice rally in the overnight. And also, again, this is the funniest part. Here's the European Open right
Isn't that
there.
funny? Right when they stepped in.
Yep, Europeans stepped in. And I think, last but not least, I just want to touch on oil. Again, oil basically went in one direction in the overnight. Kind of pushed down a little bit at 4 o'clock, went straight up. It hit that level at 69.22 is pushed in. We're back up at that 69, almost 50-ish. We're a couple cents off of it. So again, we're back to that round number again. Question is the U.S. market going to lead with Delta's bad? We need to be cautious. We're seeing higher chances of infection, lower demand, blah, blah, blah. That would lead us to turn and roll back to the downside. But right now we're kind of peeking ahead. And is that preparation for, and again, JOLTS job openings, right? You say, I don't know what that is. It's the number of job openings during the reported month, excluding the farming industry. What if this number comes in lower? What if this comes in at like 9 million? It's still a lot, right? There's still a lot there. But if it comes in a lot less than what we thought, showing the economy is not as great, meaning there's not as many people hiring, that's a lower demand story that also leads us down, and it's starting to run. So a lot to that one as well. And then gold and silver. Gold is playing with 1,800, just bouncing back and forth, but now basing on the opposite side. Silver's finally moving a little bit, but look at this. It just did nothing from yesterday. So
they're stalled on the sidelines at the moment.
Yeah, and even the Bitcoin, Bitcoin and Ethereum, they're all down. Bitcoin's back at 46,000. Natural gas, again, another big runner. It's going in the wrong direction. We did not get the break of $4.55 yesterday that we were looking for, but again, it's still there. It's an if this then that. It's got a break. It's going the wrong direction because I need that protein.
It's going to start cooling off, and demand is just going to push that price higher.
Yep. And even bonds are a little bit higher for today. They're marked negative because it's delayed. But yeah, bonds are up a little bit today. But everything is GME is down again. AMC is up a little bit. Yeah. But yeah, so interesting day in the markets, guys. I would say that first 30 minutes is really going to be a big deal to see kind of where we open and what the feeling is for today. And again, we got 30 minutes. I would watch out. And again, this is one of those levels, if we can snag it at the open today, 45.23. If we can get just up that last little bit, again, remember, I'm just delayed. Yeah, that could be a short for the open today. And once the negative sentiment is out, that it's negative, the rest of the day could roll. We could get back down to the 4,500.
You see it. Lower highs. Definitely some selling pressure. Buyers do step in, but there's some trading opportunity in there. And then also keep an eye on that Canadian dollar in an hour. We got 55 minutes. So 25 minutes from now, when the market's open, we're going to get a glimpse into where how the day might set up. So with that, any questions for Nadex, please email us, customerservice@nadex.com. Any questions for Brian, please email Brian, support@keeptradingsimple.com. I think we just kind of recapped what we're looking at. We know that there's some economic news coming out of Canada in an hour. I did drop into the chat both the article Brian was looking at as well as the economic calendar, where you could then follow along as the number comes out, but mostly it's going to be about what they're talking about. What are they seeing with Delta? How is it impacting their economic recovery? What are they looking like? And could it impact their future policy decisions? And you'll see that also impact the U.S. equity market, because what they're experiencing up there, listen, we're all on the same continent. So the U.S. is going to be experiencing as well. With that, I want to thank everyone for joining us. We ran a few minutes over today. Brian and I will catch you again tomorrow morning. With that, we want to wish you good luck in the markets. See you tomorrow.